Hi, I'm Laura. Welcome to Book Talk. Today I'm going to be discussing the really good book of If I Stay and Where She Went, and also adding in a little bit of stuff about the movie. So, If I Stay is a book about this girl, and she is a professional music player. She plays the cello and stuff, and she's really excellent at it. But throughout this whole book, she has gone through a car accident, and her mother and father have been killed, and her brother is in the hospital with her, but he eventually dies as well. And she's in this coma state, trying to figure out what is happening to her, and where she is, and how to get back to her life, and depending if she wants to go back. This book wasn't really my favorite at all. I enjoyed reading it. It was a good read. It wasn't. I don't think it was a waste of time for me to see it. But at the same time, I didn't necessarily connect with it like I wish I did. Later on in the books, she has this boyfriend, Adam, who she's really in love with, and he's trying to bring her back, which at the end she does come back for him because he plays her this song, and this is the reason why she comes back. And it ends when all those other movies where it ends and her eyes just open up. It's okay, yeah. You just awoke and they cut off the book. What is this? But it's an okay read. I would give it maybe a 3 out of 5 stars. That's what I would give it. The movie was really good to it. I really enjoyed the movie a lot better than I did the book. The movie had more connection with the characters in it, other than when the book were just this bland outline of what was happening throughout it. And I felt a more deeper connection to Mia, the main character, and to Adam, and to her parents. I really enjoyed her parents in the movie. Her brother, you actually got that bond with him, which I think in the book, the only character you actually fully connected with was her brother Teddy. I believe Teddy was his name. But that's the only character I actually got a connection with. But for the sequel of If I Stay, it was Where She Went. And Where She Went. Why are you laughing? My camera people are just meaners. They're laughing. But yeah, so for Where She Went was an excellent book. I really enjoyed this. I would reread this book. For this book, I would give it basically a 4 out of 5 stars. Only because, for some reason, I don't really get into realistic books that much, but I do like to incorporate different things with them and read them, and I enjoy some of them. For Where She Went, it was all in the perspective of Adam, her boyfriend, and this is 3 years from the accident happening. And Adam has become this famous musician in it, and he is this guy who's going through all this depression. I'm totally dyslexic and not reading that. I hate you guys. But yeah, he's this musician, and he is going through this depression. He's dealing with things, and it's mostly because of Mia. It goes through everything that's happening to him now, and then it's flashbacks to the past of after Mia had just up and left him because he took her to Juilliard, and after that she never talked to him again. She just disappeared. It's she basically just died and left forever from him. So it kind of broke him. He didn't hear anything from her, and then it goes back to flashbacks about where he's helping her recover from the accident, and how they're trying to help her and all these different things. And then after she leaves him, he's going through this depression where he's sitting there in his room for months at a time, gets this crappy job. And then Kim, who is Mia's best friend in the first book, and is still throughout all of the other books, but she's not really in Where She Went as much as we would like her to be. She comes to see Adam, and this is when Adam freaks out because she's seen Mia and talks to Mia, and Kim refuses to talk to him about what happened, and she's that's Mia's job to tell you why she left you and why she's not talking to you. And he just snaps, he loses his mind, starts screaming at her, tells her he doesn't want to ever see her again. She leaves, and that's when he starts to write all these songs. He just completely throws himself into his music and writes all these songs, gets back together with his band. And then they become huge superstars. And it's through the whole time of me reading this book, I was this is Maroon 5. this is Adam Levine, and this makes me very happy to imagine Adam Levine as this character, because his name is Adam Levine, and Adam Levine is attractive. And it's like Maroon 5 throughout the whole book. And then it gets into like where his band's starting to break up and different things, like hopefully Maroon 5 is to break up. But it's like how Adam has been singled as the main star, and I'm just saying Adam Levine this whole time. And so later on, him and his band are in this huge fight, and then the band goes to England to practice, but he stays in New York for another night to try to clear his mind and stuff, because his manager's like, oh, you're a mean person, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there's a lot of swearing throughout this book. Maybe it's because it's in a guy rock star's perspective, but it's pretty R-rated. Maybe not R-rated, maybe like PG-13. But, yeah. So, yeah, so throughout this book, it happens when he's walking, just chilling out, then he sees Mia on a sign poster of like a big billboard for this concert hall, and he goes in just because he can't help it to just walk past and not go in and watch her perform. And so he goes and he sees her, and people do recognize him, and then Mia hears about it and has one of her attendants come and have him come back, and then he talks to her. He feels uncomfortable, and like the whole time he's like showing this like cool guy perspective, and he's just like, oh yeah, whatever, it's cool, like, hey, yeah, like, how are you? But like in his mind, he's just all like broken. He's like, why did you do this? He wants to know like why and all these things, but he can't say that to her. So he ends up leaving, and then Mia comes to find him, and she follows him, and they just get to talking, and then they're at this diner, and they're just chilling out, like talking and discussing things. Then finally it gets to the point of where Adam's just like, oh, that's why you left me, and he gets mad, and that's when this whole breakout part happens. And it's really good because it's so real, like it's so in-depth the way they discuss this. And I wish the first book would have been more like this book with more feelings and more realness to it, which I didn't get from the first book, but from the second one I really did. And it says how Mia, she feels like when it was happening that everyone was trying to help her and she didn't want it, and it was hard to relate with some people, but for me I related to it pretty well since my father had passed. And then when stuff like that happens, you just are so angry and you want to blame someone, and then like after you blame someone, you just decide to cut people off. And I did that for myself. I did that for 3 years, which is ironic because this book they cut off for 3 years. But it was excellent, like the way they portrayed it, and she had finally gotten over her anger, and she believes that her parents had sent Adam to her now for a second chance to make amends with what happened. And Adam is more than, he loves her. He's truly in love with her, and she's in love with him, and then they get together, which Adam had to dump his rock star girlfriend though for, which is kind of funny. I found that interesting how he could just blow her off the whole time. But then they get back together, Adam ends up leaving his band, and then the book ends with them at a concert and he's singing directly to her one of the songs that he was like broken up about. And that like ended the book, but I thought the book was really good, and I would reread it, maybe not as much as I would read other books I connect with a lot more, but out of a realistic genre of the books, I really enjoyed where she went. If I say not as much. But yeah. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time when me, Alyssa, and Jessica are going to come back and do an entire series of the Mortal Instruments and the movie. See you then.